Hi, welcome to the Pacific Northwest. My name is Angelo Dieso. Uh, I am beginning this video web series to talk about a few things that I think are very important to me and hopefully translate to being important to people out there who are watching and listening. Again, my name is Angelo. I'm what I think to be a fairly multifaceted, bright, intelligent, and upbeat person. Been this way most of my life. Obviously I'm not without flaws, but who is? But I live in Vancouver, Washington right now, just across from Portland, Oregon. And I want to talk about an event or some events that have sculpted, changed, affected my life in recent months that I think are important for me to talk about, and maybe they can help you in some of your life experiences to put some perspective into them. I've always been a really busy and active person, always on the go, always doing things involving people, very social. I'm very involved with social media, always been very involved with my community, just being very personal with people, getting to know people's names and people's backgrounds, and having a lot of friends, a lot of people in my life. I've got a great family. I'm a really lucky guy. I'm a really happy person. So about 5 months ago, 6 months ago, you might have heard this from me in the past, a pretty traumatic experience happened in my life where I had a couple grand mal seizures and found myself in the hospital in Central Oregon. And this was a very big change in my life. Seizures, what's this all about? I'm a 37-year-old male. Come to find out after a few MRIs and CAT scans that I have been diagnosed with an Oligodendroglioma tumor. Fortunate for me, this is a stage 2 tumor that was determined after a biopsy where they go in and they take a little snip of the tumor to find out what kind it is. This is fortunate, I suppose, as far as my neurosurgeon and neurologists have told me, that this is the best kind of tumor that you can have if you're going to have a tumor, which means it's not a rapidly growing tumor. In fact, it may be benign for years, and with the right treatment to myself, I could make it so that it's not really a problem at all for me. So I felt pretty optimistic. I mean, I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. Lots of friends and family came from all over the place to come see me because like I said, I'm a very fortunate person. I've invested a lot of my time in family and friends, and so those have paid dividends to me when I fell ill and was really in need of other support. So I'm very grateful for all this. Really, when I was in the hospital, I was really anxious to get out. I couldn't wait to get out of the hospital, get back to my normal life, because I was a pub manager. It's a really cool pub in Eugene, Oregon. I was also working a lot to run my own business and website, which we focus on craft beer and craft beer events. So craft beer has been a big interest of mine my whole life. So coming out of the hospital, I was told explicitly by my doctors and nurses that I shouldn't be drinking any more alcohol anymore because of the medications that I was put on. These medications included 2 pretty hefty anti-seizure meds, Keppra and Dilantin. Now, these drugs have pretty harsh side effects, and I came to learn these side effects pretty quickly. I'd say probably the most intense side effects would be the neurological side effects, the emotional side effects involved with these, which have been feelings of depression, feelings of anger, feelings of just kind of being all over the map sometimes. Some of this also could be due to the actual trauma that I went through, some a sense, I am going through post-traumatic stress, because coming to terms with a brain tumor and the impacts that it has on your life is, let's face it, how's that going to be easy for anybody? So a lot changed coming out of the hospital, but in the early stage of dealing with all this grief, I was also in the stages of denial, where I can go right back into the world. I can do everything the way I used to do it. This is nothing. This is just a little bit, a little glitch, and I'm back. Unfortunately, I hit a bunch of speed bumps, if not walls, trying to bounce back so quickly, and found out that it wasn't going to be so easy. Despite my hard will and determination, this was something that had physically changed me and will affect me for the rest of my life. But, I'm positive and I'm a fighter, so no matter the sadness, depression, anger, all these different emotions that I felt throughout this process, I had a baseline of a core of believing that I was going to overcome all of this, and obviously I still do, and I feel very strongly this way, and that, I believe, is a huge key to surviving any major issue in life such as this. It was great to see the number of people who showed up at my hospital bedside, and people who have come to visit me since being out of the hospital. This has been a process, climbing back, trying to do some of the simpler things in life that I've always taken for granted because I'm go all the time. So I've been very grateful to people who have shown their love and support to me. A lot of these people, obviously in these sort of situations, as you can probably imagine, a lot of people come and they show up at first, and they give their love and support, and they get their picture taken with me, and we love you, Angelo, we support you, cards, all kinds of things, and it was overwhelmingly loving, and I am grateful beyond. I can't even imagine, I can't even explain to you how grateful I am for all these people in my life, especially my family, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister-in-law, close friends. People like that really shined in this situation. And though I was in this denial stage at first, like I'm just going to bounce right back, I was for the whole time very grateful for all this. Now, after going through this denial, when I came out of the hospital and realized that I'd ended up in the emergency room 3 times with some pretty heavy seizures because I didn't make the determined enough adjustments to solve some of these problems, I had to come to grips with the way things really were and really might be. So I became depressed and started to feel, sitting around. It's the middle of the winter when all this was starting to happen too. So it was in the Pacific Northwest. It was getting dark. I felt alone. I started to feel like, where are all these people now? They were here when I was sick, and now they're not around all the time. Still, a lot of people have continually showed me love and support. I became quite dependent on some social media and ideas of people and images on the internet that made me dependent in some ways, or I made myself dependent upon, because I filled my days with looking for other sources of happiness to fulfill me, or to fill the hole that I felt within myself. It was, if I could go back in time, which you can never, if this, if that, if could, would, should, I probably would have recommended to myself, I should have gone to see a therapist and talked to someone sooner and come to terms and been more self-aware more readily. Anyways, I'm a pretty self-aware person, so I've been making adjustments throughout this entire process, and fortunately I've had the support of friends and family who have stood by me, and without their love and support, I can't honestly say that I would have been able to have the strength and gumption on my own to pull myself up out of the depths of severe depression. Because when you go through something like this, such as going through a life-changing experience where you're forced to stop becoming involved in a career or role that you're used to. Like for me, it was craft beer, not being able to drink anymore, not being able to go out to all these events anymore, not being able to stay as committed to the identity that I had put forth on social media, because obviously, I'm an honest, straightforward person about who I am. I can't be like, I'm drinking all the time, because I'm not, and so I had to let go of a lot of that stuff. And with that, a lot of that stuff let go of me. And so this involves, people who, maybe not your closest friends through the thick and thin, but, people that are, those borderline friends that we all have. They're acquaintances, they're people we care about, they're people we like. And, when you get sick, they might step up at first to do some things for you, but then ultimately, time passes along and people change and things happen, memories fade, and it isn't really specific to a person or a blame on a person. It's just the way life works. People change, things change. And, since I stepped out of my own spotlight, I guess, because I don't want to sound too narcissistic here, self-important, but I realized that, there was fewer and fewer people who actually remained true as a friend in the real life to me. Now, I tried to compensate this through Facebook and other forms of social media, because let's admit it, on some level, those forums offer validation and other means of, people being able to communicate when you're maybe sometimes incapacitated or unable to travel. You can look to, let's say, Facebook to express how you feel. And this, in many ways, became unhealthy for me, because I had met someone on the internet who, again, like, Angelo, why are you doing this again? I met someone on the internet who lived far away from me, but still had a lot of interests, and we had been plotting to meet one another for a while, and this was moving along quite swimmingly, until I fell ill. And then, it was apparent, this person didn't obviously ditch out of my life, because the person's not a bad person. It's just things change, people adapt, and, some people don't adapt the way you hope they would, but, that's life. And so I started to put so much dependency on this person to remain by my side, when this person really never had been by my side, because the person I had never met him in person. But this became quite depressing for me, and I became quite fixated on this virtual relationship, waiting and waiting and waiting, counting days down, beyond hundreds of days, for this person to come into my life and essentially save me from myself. Also, it wasn't so much that, as I was very reluctant going into the whole situation because of past relationships and past issues, which I won't get into. But, this whole experience made me really appreciate and understand people, who they are at the core when things go bad. The people who stood up for me in a big way, my advocates, and the people who made the time for me, really, really impacted and changed my life. I've learned that, codependency is not healthy. It's good to have people in your life, socialize, people you can share with, people to talk to have therapy and healing, but to bank on another person for your own happiness. I've found this out a few times in my life, and I know I've always known this deep down, this is not healthy for a person. So I've been working very hard to slowly come out of this physically and mentally initially debilitating process, not only of just accepting the fact that, wow, I have a brain tumor, but also this is the new start of a new life, and things aren't the same as they were. I don't hold the same identity that I held before, and I have to start finding interest and becoming involved in other things that can become more exciting and interesting even than the life I had before I went through all of this. So in a lot of ways,